A very good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here today. It's our pleasure to have you here. Apologies for the bit of delay that we had, but there was some technical glitch. I'm delighted to welcome the Inomi team here today. We have with us today Nina Merchant. I'm going to give a very brief introduction to these lovely ladies because had I had time, I would have read all their credentials, but we would need a different Zoom for that. So we have with us Nina, who's a UPenn alumnus, and she's a SAT, ACT, and Math Olympiad coach with close to 10 years of experience. Welcome, Nina. We have Deepika Thadani, a Brandeis University alumnus. Deepika runs English Language Lab and has been an editor for an international consulting firm. Hi, Deepika. And of course, we have Richa Dwivedi Saklani, the Inomi founder, and I am Ahmedabad alumnus. Richa is also the author of the best-selling book, The Ultimate Guide to 21st Century Careers. So we're going to begin our session with Inomi called Are You Ready for Early Round Admissions? Please do share your questions in the comment box and we will go ahead and try to answer them as best. Welcome, ladies. Are you ready to get started?
Thank you, Pastor. We're so excited about this. So glad to be here with you.
Likewise, likewise. So I'm going to start right at the beginning, Richa. What exactly are early admissions? Is this a new phenomenon?
So for India, it's definitely a new phenomenon because, we are used to India admissions being after the boards. So, people would start preparing for tests and interviews, etc., after the grade 12 boards. But a few liberal arts colleges have started early admissions in the last few years. And now you've got 4 or 5 leading colleges, including Ashoka, OP Jindal, Flame, Kriya, and Azim Premji, that do an admission round in December. So it's got its own nuances, of course, and some students are ready to take the December round, some students are not, but it's important to be aware and to make a very clear strategy that do I want to do this or not, and not let it be default that, oh, I wasn't prepared, so well, let it go, right? So that's what I feel.
Okay, great. What universities offer this, Richa, these early round admissions?
So the ones I mentioned, Ashoka, certainly. There's Ashoka, Flame, Kriya, OP Jindal, and Azim Premji, definitely. If this year a few others want to start early admission, I don't know. I'm speaking from last year's data because this year they've yet to open in October, the early admission rounds. But if it remains like last year, there would be these 5.
Okay. I also want to know, please share something about Kriya University because it's relatively new, but yet it's got such a renowned name so fast. So,
Yes. So, Kriya University has actually been around for a few years, but we only knew Raghuram Rajan and Kriya, but now we have a few students studying over there. And last year, particularly, almost all our India students applied to Kriya and many of them got through. And we've really understood what Kriya is about. So we had a detailed session with their admissions lead, Ms. Kachi Khanna, as well.
Okay.
And what we really understand both from the students and from the universities that it's a university that truly offers multidisciplinary learning, which means not just that you learn many different subjects and you choose from different subjects, which is true of all liberal arts colleges, but also that you work in interdisciplinary groups on interdisciplinary projects. And you are encouraged to be creative. They're really looking for this individual voice of yours. They've got really very high quality faculty from across the world. And you speak to anybody from Kriya. I've been talking to students. I've been talking from the admissions team. You feel that academic passion coming across. It's a wonderful university. Really one to watch out for.
Great. That's actually really, refreshing to know as a parent. So coming to my next question. What does the admission process involve? How important are 9th and 10th transcripts?
So see, they all say that they have a holistic admission process, which typically means that there are many different elements to it. So one is the test prep that we'll be talking about in detail later. So most of them will have an entrance test that you need to take. Then there is an interview round, right? Now, Before that, also there is a detailed application form to be filled, which includes some essays for the student. And so you write those essays, you take the test, then you do an interview. Then each university has its own specific take on things. Like Kriya has an immersion day where you solve a case in a group. Ashoka has these on-the-spot interviews. So if you've got these beautifully framed interviews that your parents or counselors have written, then now you write an on-the-spot interview for them to really understand you, right? And all of them have a one-to-one interview. So it's a complex process of admissions with many different elements in it.
Great. Can online course certificates be added, Richa, to the application, and how useful are they in your opinion?
Okay, and I'll just backtrack and answer your 9th, 10th grades.
Yes, please.
That 10th grades are usually important. Indian universities usually don't ask for 9th grades. They usually ask for 10th grades. Online courses have a lot of value, particularly, but not just that you throw it in as a name. So, last year, one of my students had done like 7 or 8 online courses. But if you spoke with him, he knew about each and every one of them. So one was on actuarial sciences, one was on capital markets, one was on data analytics. So if you asked him questions, he knew about it. And then when he put his statement of purpose together, these courses came in as relevant to his academic approach, not just to say, oh, I've also done this, I've also done this, I've also done this. So it does add value if the student can back it up, and it shows in the students' conversations and essays that they know what they're talking about.
Great. That's really nice to know. My next question is, Richa, what kind of tests are these? How can students prepare for them?
Right. So, I'll tell you a little bit about it, and then I will hand over to our faculty who will be working with our students particularly on the test prep part as well. And I'd love for them to introduce themselves more deeply also. So, these tests are all different. So liberal arts colleges typically have a pretty straightforward test with maths, verbal reasoning, some vocabulary, some reading comprehension, etc. With the exception of Ashoka and Kriya, their tests are quite different. So Ashoka has very much more a logic-based test. So though they do have quantitative analysis and they do have verbal reasoning, but it really requires feats of logic. It requires you to stop and think and structure and respond, not just that you know the concepts. Knowing the concepts is a very, very small part of answering those tests. Similarly with Kriya, Kriya just has 5 questions. There's 5 questions in half an hour. And you say, oh my God, I have 6 minutes per question, but that is because the question demands that sort of thinking and framing and figuring it out, right? So that's about how the tests are. Let me also bring in Nina and Deepika at this stage. Nina, if you'd like to just give them an overview also of your experience and bandwidth with the various types of tests and what you think this test prep will be like.
So basically, I've been working with kids from international schools that primarily kids that are looking to go to college in the US, of course, but also kids that are looking to go to boarding school in the UK or private schools, elite private schools in the US, or gifted and talented programs, as well as international math competitions. So that the UK boarding schools, for example, involves certain standardized tests that have, like a verbal and nonverbal reasoning element. I've worked with numerous tests, and this test is, the math concepts are, of course, they need to have like a strong foundation in the math concepts, which we will be doing, but they also need to be able to apply the concepts in order to solve the problems. So while someone may be really good at, like, for example, calculating percentages, they may not be so good at interpreting what the problem is asking in the first place. And if they are able to ascertain what the problem is asking for, they're not always able to figure out how to solve the problem. So a big part of what we'll be doing is training them to do that effectively.
Nina, I want to know, are SATs helpful and necessary for applications also?
Well, I know that it's like one option. If you're talking about Indian universities, I know that it's one option, but I feel like in some cases, these, the school specific exams are in a way better, because you know, the school knows exactly what they're looking for. They can identify whether the student has those specific skills as opposed to something that's so standardized and universal.
Yeah,
So,
Ashoka, for example, does say, Upasana, that they prefer students taking their own test, and their test is so different even from the SATs that
Okay.
it helps them give them a view. But if students take SATs, then a lot of the tests in India can be, can be avoided. So you can just take an SAT as a substitute for others, especially if you do well at it, right?
Okay. I think this question is relevant for Deepika. Deepika, is it useful to do IELTs or TOEFLs? And the main thing is, do students have enough time given their exams, etc.?
So I think depends on what you're looking for. So
Okay.
if you do the SAT, then the TOEFL is a compulsory part. But once you've handled the complexity of an SAT, a TOEFL is really a very, very simple thing to have to tackle. For an
India colleges anyway.
Indian colleges, you could perhaps as another way to test yourself, but I don't think it's necessary in terms of as much added value. What do you say, Richa?
Agree with you. TOEFL is not needed for Indian tests at all because, you know, naturally most students are coming from an English medium thing. So for Indian colleges, you don't need TOEFL, right?
Got it. Richa, great. My next question is, tell me about this new test prep that you're launching and what prompted you to launch this. I think there's a story here, right?
Yeah, the stories really comes from our own experiences, you know. So till last year we weren't offering test prep, so we would recommend high quality test prep to our students, and we found that for India colleges there was no test prep available, you know. So the only thing that's available is a BBA entrance test prep that prepares you for the 5-year IIM Indore programs, right? Which is a very high level of math complexity, you know, so it's the format of that is very different. So the idea really is to be that, oh, you know, you prepare for BBA and liberal colleges are stepped down from that. So you'll just be able to do that anyway. But I found a lot of students not just joining that program because they found that it's too much work for them for the effort that they really needed. Plus some of the tests were completely different. So preparing for BBA was not preparing them for the liberal arts colleges. So we would give them material saying that prepare from here, prepare from there, and that was working. And this year we said, listen, let's just put it together in a structured program so that we can offer students a targeted program for liberal arts colleges in India, which is not there right now. So this really came together for our students in a sense, you know, that we thought that people need it and it's not in the market. So we said, let's get into it. Let's plunge into it. It was a little daunting in the beginning, but now, you know, we are all in love with the process and with all that we are doing to prepare the test prep. So that's really about, you know, why we launched it.
That's lovely. That's really wonderful to know. Please tell me, what options does a student have to prepare for these tests?
So right now, the only other option is to do some sample papers by yourself. Not too many sample papers are available also, you know, so if you go on Amazon or anywhere, you'll really find, you know, BBA entrance tests, you'll find material for CLAT, you'll find material for the IPM, which is, you know, that 5-year management program that IIM Indore and IIM Rohtak offer. You'll find those tests, but you won't find other material. So actually there isn't really any other method that students have to prepare for it unless they scramble and figure out, let me try this, and then try something. And they go ahead with that. I don't know, Nina, Deepika, are you aware of any other material that they may have to prepare for these tests?
Richa, I did notice that some of the universities put out sample papers, but then they're just maybe 2 or at best 3 per university. So not really enough to base an entire test preparation on.
right.
I felt.
Absolutely.
So I have a question from Nitya, and she says, which humanities courses require specific subjects to be studied in 11th and 12th?
So economics requires you to study math in 11th and 12th. Most places in India, you know, you wouldn't be able to do economics honors without having studied math. Of course, all the science subjects. So a lot of liberal arts college, not a lot, Ashoka and Kriya offer science as well. So you can do a BSc Bio, BSc Physics. For that, you do need to have that science subject in 11th and 12th that you want to major in. right? Other than this, I'm not really aware of any subject restrictions. It may pop into my head as I think about it, but there's nothing else that I'm aware of as a subject restriction for 11th and 12th. Computer science, sorry, computer science does require you to have 12 math in 11th and 12th.
Great. I hope, Nitya, that answers your question. I have another question from Nitu. She says, do foundation courses require you to study math and sciences, even if you're 100% sure you want to study subjects that are purely humanities? Maybe Nina should answer this question.
Well, as far as the requirements are concerned, I think Richa would be the better person to answer the school-specific requirements. But I mean, as far as like, you know, generally in life, I feel that it really, really enhances your analytical skills. And I just feel it like it results in like a different type of like, for me, it results in a thrill. I don't know, but I mean, as soon as I get my hands on like a new like past paper for the SAT, I'm like so excited to do the math section, you know? So yeah, I just think it, for people that enjoy math, they like will really, really enjoy it like even more. But for people that are not necessarily focused on math, I just think it'll like open a whole realm of like possibilities for them. And I just feel like everything now, you know, involves math on some level. So
I have another math related question, Nina.
Sure.
How do you work with students who are scared of maths? This is actually true for me also.
Well, so I like to make things fun for my students. I mean, I have a really good rapport with like pretty much all my students, because I don't want them to feel as though, you know, it's like a chore. So a lot of times, like even if they hate math or whatever they hate, like the class goes by so quickly, you know. And I also try to use like visuals to make things more comprehensive to them. So for example, you know, like percentage word problems. I tell them how to like figure out, like give them like a template equation, and then I have them, you know, based on the wording, like fit in the numbers within the equation to solve the problem. So I just try to make it less intimidating for them that way. So in terms of like A, making it fun, and B, making it more visual. And yeah, that primarily, I think that's it. And then of course I give them like very targeted exercises that are like specific to their weaknesses.
Right.
Yeah.
So while we're talking about maths, I have another question. How does the math section of Ashoka and other tests compare to SAT and ACT?
So basically the concepts are, you know, like most of the content is up to grade 10. So it's not like tough in terms of the concepts, but you need to be able to, first of all, solve the questions really quickly, obviously like using techniques specific to the test. And then but then also some formats like the Ashoka test are less straightforward and need like a lot more clarity and agility. So yeah, so technically it's easier, but the approach to questions requires logical preparation. And that also applies for the SAT and ACT, of course, but I think they're like different in the way they test logic and application.
Great. I have a live question. Ritu Goyal wants to know, do liberal arts colleges offer change of streams? That is, if a student has taken commerce in 12th grade, can he switch to other subjects like computer science?
So they only have some subject restrictions. So computer science, definitely, if you've got maths in 11th and 12th, you can definitely do computer science in any of the not many liberal arts colleges offer computer science. So Ashoka offers it, Kriya offers it, Christ offers it, right? And you can, in all of them, you only need math. So that way you can switch. Probably you could not switch from commerce to a science, So saying that I want to do a BSc Physics, right? That may be out of the zone, but otherwise you can definitely switch. I
Great.
mean, within some restrictions. I actually wanted to throw that question to Deepika as well about the difference between the English section in these tests and that of SAT in general. Deepika, your thoughts on that?
So the English sections in our test prep or in the tests that these colleges ask their students to do does mirror the basic style and thought process behind the SAT, but there's a lot of focus on, it's a shorter test compared to the SAT and ACT in English. The passages are typically shorter, but they're equally deceptive and tricky in their own way. So you need to have to train your eye for it. Even me, who's been an editor for many years, when I first looked at this test material, it did need a little switch in your head. It needed a slightly different way to apply yourself, which is similar to what you would need in SAT, ACT in terms of attention to detail, in terms of being able to read between the lines, and also, and you need that strong practice in grammar, in language and grammar, and that does, though in school itself, you would have done literature, you would have done poetry, you would have done essay writing, but that's more for overall development of command on English. For the tests, you need to go a little beyond, utilize everything you learned in school, but learn certain application techniques. So in that sense, I think the way the English sections in the tests for the Indian colleges need the application techniques they need and the attention to detail they need and the practice they need are probably similar to the SAT and ACT in English.
Great. Thank you so much for that, Deepika. Another question. Does Inomi offer any support for different types of prep?
So, we work as far as the test prep is concerned, essentially with the liberal arts colleges in India, which means that because we've just launched it, so we may create something that is more specific to, let's say, a DU, JAT or a IPM later. But right now, our focus is really all the liberal arts colleges and the test prep for them. We also offer support outside of the test prep for your other aspects of the counseling, which includes, your knowing which course to apply for. Because now with liberal arts colleges, you need to have a story that, who are you, where are you coming from, so that counseling. We also work with students on their essays and preparation for their interviews, group discussions, on the spot essays, etc. So we do offer those services as well. And several students are working with us on the entire journey, which includes, starting with the career guidance, going on to sort of a profile building, that what can I do to enhance my story so that it comes together strongly in the application and the essays. Also doing the test prep, and then also getting trained on the interviews and the group discussions, etc. So that entire journey is something that we offer support on, and several students are on that track.
Wow, that's something that's really thorough. I must appreciate as a mom that's like literally taking care of them each step of the way. That's really wonderful.
It's really a joy for us. We really enjoy doing this with students and, taking them end to end the whole journey, and they're so happy at the end to meet their goals. That's
it must be so fulfilling, right? When they, I can just imagine. Coming back to another question, do students need college counseling, Richa, for these colleges, or?
So, I think the Indian colleges are getting a lot more competitive than before. So earlier you essentially needed, like earlier it was the zone of DU, right? So with DU, you essentially needed your grade 12 grades. And for various reasons, that was just very challenging because the cutoffs were so high. But now if you look across the zone, colleges, if I just name the top colleges in India, which is, the top liberal arts and business schools, that includes Ashoka, Kriya, Symbiosis, NMIMS, Flame, Azim Premji, Christ University. They all have a complex process of admissions, and things are getting more and more competitive in India now, especially now in the pandemic. A lot of people are thinking that let me just apply to India, and we look at the post-grad level if the student wants to go out. So it is getting competitive. Now, the student does need some support in counseling, and it's really up to the family. The parents can also provide a lot of support in counseling if you have the time and the frame of mind to sit and work with the student through their essays, help them prepare for their interviews, help them bring their profile to come together. A lot of the times I find that it really helps parents to have professional help, so that people who really understand what the options are, because things are changing so fast outside. A lot of the times the expertise parents have is limited to their domain, wherever they are working. So
Right.
being in counselors, a professional counselor helps them get that broader view of what are the opportunities, and also our experience on what works with what college, how do you need to write this essay, how do you prepare a child for it. It's always very helpful for parents and students.
Great. I have a question from Chandana. She wants to know, can you please share a timeline for students who are currently in the 11th standard? Like the children who just started the 11th, they've started a bit late, I guess, because of all this.
Students, if they're in the 11th, it's really not late.
Okay.
Students do tell me, is it too late? I found, kids joining me in grade 9, grade 10, grade 11, grade 12, and all parents ask us, is it too late? And my question is that, of course, it's never late. Whenever you start and you take it ahead from there, right? So for grade 11 students applying to Indian colleges, it's completely not too late, but this is the time for you to start. See, 11th is the only time you get to really bring your profile together and to bring your story together. So it's time for you to get some clarity on what you want to apply for, and not to leave the question loose for very long, that let's see what subject I like. I might apply for psychology, I might apply for economics, I may even do law, computer science looks interesting as well. If you keep too many things open, then you do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and then when you put your story together, it doesn't make so much sense. So it's good for you to get some clarity on which direction you're headed towards, and then use every step to enhance that story. So if you're saying computer science, now, do a few online courses in computer science, see if you want to build some sort of an app or even a small website, work in your computer science club in school to create certain things. A couple of our students just did some interesting blogs on this kid who wanted to do computer science and education. So he just did some blogs on the top tech tools that are available for people in education, just so that your story comes together. So I think 11th is a great time to start. So can I give you a timeline? So I would say that for a grade 11 student, a good time to start test prep would be next summer. This year should be about building your profile and, putting your story together, doing some things outside, enhancing your resume, doing some courses outside, looking at what activities are you doing, what projects are you leading. Then you do your test prep in the summer, and then, you start making your college list and start preparing for your essays, etc. So I would say the time is now to start.
Okay, great. Listen up, 11th and 11th graders, and this is important for you. Richa, what about those who are in the 12th standard now?
So grade 12 students need to decide whether they want to apply early or not. So, it's always good to apply to a few colleges early, because you get the admission results by Jan. So now you've got a couple of admits that are sort of like, at least either it's a backup option, or you've really got your dream college. Now you're so relaxed for your boards. It really helps you in preparing for the boards as well. So if grade 12 students are looking to apply for India colleges, it's time now to sit and think about which early admissions you'd like to do and what you'd like to do. If you're not doing any early admissions, then you can start everything post-March. Unless, of course, you want to use the next 2-3 months to enhance your profile a little bit. There's a lot going on in school as well. If you're doing early admissions, then the time to start is now.
Great. What about 12th board marks? Are they given more importance than overall transcripts and entrance tests?
So, we don't really know inside a college's admission committee that how do they play it out. But from my experience, if I look at our students who got through, like last year, we had, all our students made it into their dream colleges. And if I look at it and see what worked, I've seen people with not top grades getting into some top colleges if they have an outstanding profile. But if, everything is at an average level, then I found that, top colleges would probably not be the right place for you. Then you're looking at the next rung of colleges, right? So I think that all colleges will look at the balance between grades and your projects, right? And just grades won't get you in. For colleges like Ashoka, Kriya, etc., without grades, it's tough to get in unless you are really an outstanding kid.
Great. I have another question from Subhashni. She says, what is the right time or age to get in touch with a counselor?
So see, I think grade 10 is a very good time to start working with counselors. I do work with grade 9 students as well, but I often find them quite childlike. You know, I don't always find that sense of discipline and purpose and ambition. I don't know, Nina, if that's been your experience, Nina, Deepika as well. I find that it's 10th when kids really become serious about their goals. Do you agree?
Well, sometimes they're serious before that, but I still feel that even if they're not serious initially, I just feel it's good to sign on early in order to like build their foundation in terms of their profile and applications, because sometimes like, you know, at the last minute, they just put stuff on there, you know, they just like come up with activities that they put on their resume at the last minute. And then it just doesn't look as credible as if it was like started earlier in the process. That's my personal opinion on it.
Deepika, you're a mom as well. Your daughter's studying at Open,
So
right?
my son started the process only in class 11, but then, you know, there was just so much happening in it, and it all came together, and it all worked out well because we were just on rapid fire for those 2 years, and he was very clear that he wanted to just focus on academics. When his counselor suggested he look at social, you know, contributing in the social sector and so on, he said, no, that's not how I want to pitch my resume. I'm a physics guy. I want to focus on physics and math, and I know the route by which I'm going to get there. So his was slightly different, but I could say that for my daughter in grade 9, we are talking about perhaps looking at a counselor, but I think we should wait. I do feel class 9 doesn't really know much about themselves. They're still children. They need, in grade 10, there's still a bit more of a step up to being a little more mature, being ready to, you know, take those initial steps into the world and into the world of, you know, academics and career. So you're a little more ready. And yes, class 10, I think, is a good time because you need to show some commitment to any particular cause, any particular project that you're taking seriously, any particular skill or activity you're trying to build very seriously. You need to show some commitment to it. It shouldn't be like a class 12, last minute, 3 month, I did this work, this campaign. It should show a certain level of commitment. So I think class 10 is a good time.
I completely agree with that.
Thank you for that. I have another question from Ritu. She says, liberal arts colleges, do they have the same criteria or entrance for admission, or do they follow their own procedures?
So in India, every college follows their own process. Probably there is a need for standardization to make things easier for students. But right now, every college has their own test. Every college has their own, multi-level process. So that's really the answer to that, that it's a complex world out there. Once you start, each test is different. Somebody has a group discussion, somebody has an on-the-spot essay, somebody has a case study. They all have interviews though, that's common, but everybody has their own interview.
Great. So I have a question now for the English teacher, for Deepika. If I understand correctly, Deepika, the English section of test prep is way more than grammar and pure English. Am I right?
You're right. You're absolutely right. There's a certain component of verbal reasoning where certain questions are, where there's a reading comprehension passage and you're supposed to, certain questions are asked. There are a combination of English structure as well as logical reasoning. So you need to have your English in place, but yet you need to, the analytical side of your mind needs to work. So you need a combination of both English and a certain level of analysis in place. You'll have verbal reasoning, you'll have reading comprehension that often asks you to interpret the passage and in a way that you might not be completely ready for. So a lot of that does need work.
Great. That's lovely to know, actually. Where am I getting this echo from? Okay. Richa, if you could just share with me the details of the course and the remuneration, please.
Yeah, the program is a 10-week program that we start on 3rd October. It's a 10-week program, a 100-hour 10-week program, which means that
Okay.
every week the student is working for about 10 hours. That
Mhm.
is 2.5 hours over 4 days. Out of those, 3 days are classes and 1 day is a doubt class. So we've designed it such that students don't have to do much else outside of this. So the entire prep we are trying to do within this time as well, because I know students have a lot on their plate. The entire program the program fee is 75,000 for
Okay.
students, and it also includes a refresher course next March. If they want to take the regular rounds as well and they want a little bit of a refresher, they can join a few weeks or whichever way they want to do it. If they want to join the whole course back, that's okay as well. So the program is 75,000 including the refresher.
Great. That's actually really, I would say, a nice figure for 100 hours. Sorry, 10 weeks and 100 hours, right?
And the other part, I think, is also that we have small classes. So our
Right.
classes are capped at only 10 students per teacher. So we want it to be a very, teacher-student-led environment. That chemistry between the student and teacher, which is so important to learning, requires a small group. So we've really set them up more as tutorials than as, large classrooms. So really, I agree with you that we've tried to come up with a program fee that's very effective, given that it's a small classroom as well. But
Right.
because we're just introducing it, we wanted it to be representative of that.
Great. That's lovely. I'm just going to check if, sorry, were you saying something, Deepika?
Yes, in fact, I did want to add, and it slipped my mind while talking about the English section, that we do have something called critical reasoning that we are offering together with the English modules. And the critical reasoning really mirrors or rather reflects what is asked in the tests in terms of there's again it's not just English. It's really a very logic-based test. You're asked complicated puzzles that you analyze and you put in your own answer to. So it needs a certain amount of practice. I mean, even no matter who it is, you can't just go and you can't just go in there and solve them. It really needs either a very, very smart brain, which I'm sure kids have, but it does still need a fair bit of practice, a fair bit of knowing how to, solve the tricks.
Just some orientation towards them, how to structure it, how to think about it. Yeah, it really helps. Particularly, I believe. Yes, Upasana, go on.
Yeah, sorry. I have a question from Rajni Thakur. She says it's similar to what we discussed before. She says, is grade 10 when kids need to have an idea about what program to take and which university they want to go to? Or can they wait till grade 11?
So, it depends. Most students have to do a subject choice in grade 10 anyway. So there is a certain amount of decision making that you have to do by grade 10 because, you're dropping a few subjects after that. So it is important to at least narrow it down to a certain level as to say that, okay, so I'll be taking bio, psycho, eco, math and English, and that's going to open for me all of business, data analytics, computer science, psychology, biology, neuroscience. And outside of that, I'm not really interested in, let's say, an engineering or in being a pilot or some such thing, right? So just that level of thinking is a very good idea in grade 10. The actual specific course you want to apply to can come together even in grade 11. So, but some level of decision making is needed in 10. By grade 12, we hope you've really got a story and you're saying that, okay, let me run with this and then we'll see where we go.
Richa, what about Inomi has a program that supports them besides college prep? I think India College Counselling.
That's right.
Yeah.
So,
can you just share a few lines about that? I hope I got the name right.
Yeah, no, we do actually, as I've just shared to you with you earlier, the college counseling does include the test prep, and apart from the test prep, it includes career guidance, so that course selection in colleges, making your college list, preparing your applications and essays, training you for the interviews for every college, helping you make your story come together. So it's a comprehensive end-to-end India college counseling program.
Okay, got it. It's just making sure there was clarity regarding that, So anything else that you all would like to share with us?
So, actually, perhaps I wanted to throw a question at Nina. that, how is preparing a student for test prep different from tutoring a student for college exams? So how is this test preparation different from college exam preparation?
Like by college exams, do you mean like when you're in college?
I mean school exams. I'm sorry, I said college exams. I meant school exams, like your board exams, and because you do both types of tutoring. So, perhaps you could, make that difference clear.
Well, obviously like test prep is more standardized across the world, and school specific tests are, as per the requirements of that teacher or that curriculum, even if it's, even if, let's say, a teacher's administering, like an IB teacher is administering a math test in class, the format might be similar to the IB exam or it may not be, so it's just based on what that teacher's covered and, is looking for. But standardized tests, on the other hand, they're just standardized. Like there's no, it's black and white in terms of what they're looking for and what needs to be studied. So in terms of like preparing them for that, I feel that the only similarity is that, you need to look at what the strengths and weaknesses of each student is, whether it's for school or whether it's a standardized test, and, like work on those weaknesses, like, pound it down until they're perfect in, in solving that type of problem or that concept or, whatever it may be. So that's personally what, that's my take on it. Does that answer your question? I mean, is that what you were asking specifically?
Yeah, I also actually wanted to highlight the fact, and I'm sure your experience would bear that as well, that test prep is a little bit like, preparing for a tournament. It's sort of like, you need to go through your paces, right? You need to really do a certain number of tests of various types. You need to have an eye on the clock. It's very performance oriented.
Yes.
Rather than being more conceptual and depth. Of course, you need the conceptual depth, but all these tests are looking at math at class 10 level. So all our students know that math. It's not about the concepts as much as it is about being able to perform under pressure, under structure, given a time limit, and so on. So that way, test prep becomes different. And that's very exciting for all of us. I think, I used to, teach people test prep when I had quit my job, earlier for CAT. And I remember how much fun it is to, get students to really get their scores go up, and students love it. And it's really a fantastic roller coaster to be on with them.
Lovely.
Yeah, I fully agree. I 100% agree on that.
Lovely. Thank you so much for taking out the time, Richa and Deepika and Nina, and being here with us. Viewers who are watching, please note there'll be a form link shared in the comments. If you fill it in and share your contact details on that form, the Inomi team will get in touch with you for further details. You can always discuss this with them, and it's going to be really, really helpful, I would say. And definitely I'm going to consider it for my daughter. And once again, I would like to say thank you to all of you for joining us today. Do stay tuned to the GurgaonMoms Facebook page for more lives. And once again, thanks Richa, thanks Deepika, and thank you, Nina.
Thank you.
Thank you. Really wonderful being with GurgaonMoms again, and really wonderful to be able to talk to so many moms in the same boat as all of us at this time. So thanks for the session.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Upasana.
Okay.